Welcome back, everybody, to Pure Michigan Sports. We've got a lot to talk about. It's the last sort of push, the last hurrah until the dog days of summer. We've got the NBA draft. As we're recording, just finished up. We've got the NHL draft not only on the horizon, but right around the corner. Obviously,
Yep.
the NBA, the MLB season's in full swing. It's Christian Peck-Dimit. It's Alex Deimel. Welcome back to Pure Michigan Sports.
Yeah. Who the fuck did the Pistons draft? Who is this guy? And why have I never heard of it? I know I don't follow basketball nearly as well as you, but that was like the ongoing tweet of who the hell is Ron Holland?
Yeah, we're gonna get
Who is
into
he?
that. He's an 18-year-old kid, very young. Last I saw, his birthday is in August, so he won't turn 19 for a minute here. Still, very young kid. The best way I can describe it is a big old daddy hack for a home run. You're swinging for the fences, just going for. I mean, you might look like Javi taking a kid like this, but you might
I
just
don't
nuke
like
it.
hearing that at
Yeah,
all.
I don't like it either. But as a friend put it, I was texting with some friends from the Detroit area throughout the draft, and one of them goes, "The Pistons." I'm so checked out of this because I'm not going to read it word for word, but the Pistons could draft prime LeBron, and they'd still suck. And it does feel like that sometimes. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into our draft reactions, especially for the Pistons, and for Alex, some draft expectations for the Wings coming up here. And we're going to start it off
Or
here
lack
with
thereof.
our lack thereof, especially after that trade they made earlier this week. We've got a lot to talk about, and it feels like the tip before you go over the edge of the roller coaster, because so much going on this week. We've got prime MLB season, multiple drafts, and then you sort of snap your fingers and you're in the dog. That was a terrible snap, by the way. And then you're in the dog days of summer, and you've got absolutely nothing going on. If you don't want to watch mid-season baseball, you just sort of have to pray that you'll make it till football season.
Well, I mean, there's always free agency.
That's
Which
true. That's a good
I don't know
point.
when it starts for the NBA. It is probably a
A
bad
couple
thing
days,
considering
actually.
I'm talking on a. Is it July 1st, just like the NHL?
It is. Yep.
Okay,
hmm
I swear I know what I'm talking
Midnight
about.
July 3rd, or midnight June 30th, I think.
But no, I mean, obviously, like you have free agency, you have some stuff that's going on, and it really is like if you think about it, you've got like that month of July,
hmm
um, and then you get into preseason talks, you get into some college football, which I obviously we're very excited about. Um,
Good point.
I I didn't really this week has just left me so confused. And I've had some, like, obviously you've had all of the emotions in the past 5-10 years as Detroit sports fans. You've had the happy moments, even though they're really sad happy moments where you're like, I'm like happy at this. You've got moments like the Lions playoff run where you're like, oh my God, like this is what enjoyment is like as a fan. This week was just pure confusion, at least on my front, where I go down. I went to the Tigers game on Tuesday. They were playing the Phillies. Um, and Tarek Skubal did what he does best. Was pitching against arguably, or at least statistically, the best pitcher in the National League in Ranger Suarez, and did a pretty good job of shutting down the Phillies. For those that
Mm.
missed it, Bryce Harper, who's last I checked, if not a favorite, like a top three favorite to finish in the NL MVP voting, went yard and flipped off the fans in the middle of it. So I was all the way out in like towards the bullpen. So I don't know if he was getting chirped or something, but he clearly does not have a lot of love for Detroit. And then I want to say it was either earlier that day or maybe it would have been earlier that day. I saw the tweet come across my timeline that Jake Wallman had been traded for future considerations with a second round draft pick, which has basically led me to I now have no expectations for tonight. I have no godly idea what Steve Eiserman is thinking. And
What
I
happened to
have
the Iser plant? You can't switch your trust that
no,
quickly,
and
no?
I'm not switching my trust necessarily, but what I'm
I
saying
just
is
said you didn't know what he was gonna do.
but there's a difference. I have no clue where this is heading, and I'm very concerned. I definitely like trust. There. my trust won't falter until you hear me say it's faltered. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay. All right.
But I'm now at a point where of like, okay, like I can see this move, like this move kind of makes sense, like signing as many free agents as did. This one, the only thing I can think of is he has to be going after a big fish. I don't think it's Stamkos. I don't think we need more offense, and there aren't very many like great defensemen in this upcoming free agent class. So, like, and that's the thing where I think Wings fans saw the DeBrincat move months out, if not like several weeks out, where like they had just been begging for it. There had been talks that he wanted to come to Detroit to begin with, and it was kind of, they were just figuring out what they wanted to do, and then it happened. This one, I think, just kind of blindsided Wings fans. And everybody from Winged Wheel Pod to um like any like Wings Twitter account was just like, what the fuck? Because Wallman was he was a top pair defenseman. We just signed him to an extension a few years ago. What's the point of cap dumping him? Unless you're going for a huge fish or you're going for like a top 3-5 pick. I don't know. I again, like I haven't, it's don't give up the ship. You don't give up hope yet, especially because free agency hasn't even hit yet. You don't know what moves are going to be made tonight, but I think if things don't go a certain way by middle of next week, I'll be losing faith. You might be muted, man.
Yeah, I am muted because I'm an idiot.
I thought
I
it
was
was me for
typing.
a second. I was like,
I
what
was
the hell?
typing something in on the keyboard. Didn't want it to go all clickety clack here into the mic, but forgot to unmute myself. If you couldn't tell, we've started the show here with our Michigan half dozen, and we go through news from the half dozen. We've got a couple of little things to hit for the colleges, Michigan State, but nothing really big news wise. And we're onto the Wings to start it. So the half dozen is the four: Tigers, Lions, Pistons, Wings. Michigan State rounds them out. It did feel in my gut like you see Wallman on the run, not on the run, on the move, and it felt like a setup move almost of something else is coming along the horizon. They're especially dumping a defenseman, which you felt like would maybe be something that you emphasize on keeping this offseason.
Yeah, and I think that was the bit. I mean, I don't think there was any doubt that the offense was there. I think the offense is fairly structured.
Mm.
You need a defense and you need defense. And you need a goalie right now. If I'm gonna play armchair GM, that's what I'm looking for. And I guess like you have Matt Murray, you have Alec Martinez. I'm trying to think. I think TJ Brody's a defenseman, but these aren't guys I can honestly see the Wings going after. So I don't know what the plan is. And this is the first time where I've questioned it, where I haven't lost faith, but I am definitely questioning what's going on right now, especially considering like you also like Wallman wasn't like it's not like it was a bust of a contract. Like he was definitely at least delivering it to a certain extent. You couldn't waive him first. Like you had to throw in a second round or two just to get rid of him. Like there has to be more to the story, and that's what I'm telling myself.
You would have to think so. And looking ahead here to it's tomorrow for when we're recording this, but this will come out on Friday. And so today, looking forward to tonight with the NHL draft. Wings have the 15th pick. And I know it's always tough. I don't want to put you on the spot here because once you get sort of to the middling end of the lottery, it starts to become best available and sort of who's left that somebody got passed on or someone that was passed on. But are there any names that you're sort of looking at as obviously there's some question marks around what Yzerman is doing or looking for, but any names that pop into your head?
No, because I don't think we're gonna have that pick. I think
Okay.
part of the explanation is he's got to be looking to trade
Hmm.
that pick or get or snag another one. I don't see the Wings trading at that spot.
You were saying trade up with it, yeah?
I either trade up with it, trade up without it, and keep that pick. I don't know. I just don't see that being the storyline.
Interesting.
I think there's got to be a move made, and if that doesn't happen, then there's got to be a move made by this time next week. We're recording this June
Mm.
22nd. Free agency will have already started and then
27th.
some. By that, what did I say?
Second. I'm just making sure.
Wow, my brain is gone
Hey,
clearly today.
we've been jumping around to weddings the last couple of weeks, the both of us. Our minds are not in the right mine's not even in the right time zone anymore, to be honest with you. I'm still getting
Yeah,
I'm still getting
no,
off
that's fair.
Pacific time.
But no, I genuinely I don't know. I don't see them staying with that pick. And if they do, I see another pick going around that. I will say the only caveat I have is if you're looking to sign Shane Gostisbehere to like some like longer extension, which
Mhm.
I mean he's
You're just
kind
trying
of
to free
towards
up
the
money.
back end of his year, but he's kind of towards the back end. He's 31. He's not going to be playing like for the next 10 years. So I don't know. I'm questioning things. I'm kind of just in a bit of a tailspin. The second round pick really just it bothered me yesterday, where I was like, this. It really took that much to give
Yeah, to give them away.
Jake Wallman. So
And that'll be the big thing is where the nature of the draft and the wings position in it. It's probably more important to tune in when we go. I think we'll be recording on Tuesday next week, so it's more nice and early. It'll be more about looking at the reactions and the analysis of the picks than it will be sort of trying to guess where they'll go with 15 if, in fact, they do use it at all. I'd say we'd stop by the Lions, but no big news, no major injuries from training camp that I saw. I do want to stop by MSU. It was news pretty recently that Michigan State and Notre Dame will be renewing their rivalry starting, I believe, 26-27, if that's right. So something that was in the works for Michigan a little bit a few years ago is now they're following suit here are the Spartans.
yeah, and I had two rivalries as old as time. The Michigan. There are just some historic Michigan Notre Dame games. The Michigan State
Mhm.
Notre Dame. I don't even remember the last time they played. I
True.
could not have been older than
Find out.
11, 12 years old. Um, unless I'm completely missing something. But um, I mean, my Michigan State like football highlights. The big one that comes to mind was the fake field goal against Wisconsin, and that's as far back as my memory goes with that stuff. Um, but no, it's always nice to see, even with all of the conference realignment and stuff, that old rivalries are sticking put, and the allow it for new rivalries. I mean, like Texas as program as big as Texas joining the SEC, as much as it's going to be weird. Like I can imagine there's going to be some bad blood there too.
Hmm.
So
And I know that was a big thing I'm out in Big 12 country now, doing some sports work out here. And I can tell you that every Big 12 team that was watching those teams leave, it was a huge emphasis of we got to get them while they go. We got
yeah,
to be the ones. We beat them the last time in Allen Fieldhouse or wherever. We beat them the last time we played them, just so you have the bragging rights. They played, by the way, Michigan State and Notre Dame the last time was a Notre Dame win by 20 points in 2017. So a little bit more recently than Alex thought. Certainly more recently than
oh
I thought
wow,
as well. I
2017.
do, yeah, crazy, right?
What was the
Off
final?
the 38-18, big Notre Dame win. I will tell you, I'm reading this article about it. Two teams play for the Megaphone Trophy, which I didn't know. Tell me your guess on two dates. Date
As
number
when
one, the first time that Michigan State and Notre Dame played each other. Date number two, the first time they played for the Megaphone Trophy.
first time they played each other. We're going the year.
Yeah, just year. Yeah.
We'll go 1953. The first
Okay.
time.
In the Megaphone.
Megaphone 1964.
Get ready for this. The first time that
Was I like
Michigan
that wrong?
State, just get ready. The first time that Michigan State and Notre Dame played each other, 1897.
No, that doesn't count.
The
That doesn't
Megaphone
count. They were not.
Trophy.
It was not Michigan State. That it was. It was the. It was
Oh, like
the agricultural
college, yeah.
college. You gotta have just some
Part of the
discernment
rivalry.
here.
Part of the rivalry. The the megaphone trophy dates back to 1949. Uh, Ridiculous age on some of these OG colleges that Michigan. Always the knock on Michigan is, oh, they're counting wins from we beat Mississippi School of the Blind in 1854, and you're like, well, maybe it does have truth to it when you were Michigan A&M and you beat Notre Dame back in the 1800s. Before World War I, you were beating these teams in football. That's crazy. But that's the only stop we have college sports wise. Obviously, as we start to ramp up, come late July and August into fall season and especially football season, you're going to get full schedule breakdowns and season previews and the whole nine. But same thing with the Lions. Not a ton of fresh breaking news at the moment. The biggest thing was the Wings and the Pistons, which we'll get to in a moment, and of course the Tigers, who are playing right now. You already mentioned it. Alex was at one of only 3 Detroit wins in the last 10 games. You were at one of them. Congratulations. By the way, it does make it a little bit better that they have won 3 of their last 6, 3-3 over their last 6, but it feels like you're sort of in a key moment of the season where you can let the dog days of summer drag away at you a little bit, and then suddenly you look up and there's no shot at a wild card. Maybe I'm putting too much weight on the next month or so of the season, but it feels like this is the forgettable part of the schedule where you can let it slip away.
I'll be honest. I just don't see a wild
You're
card
al-
with
you're
how this
already
team is
giving up.
playing. Like in the sense that, and it'll be really depressing to have a guy win a Cy Young
Yeah,
and not even make the playoffs
yeah, at all.
because your hitting is just that atrocious.
It's really bad.
When your team leading average isn't even 260. Isn't even 260. It's 259 with Riley Green. Your
Mhm.
team leading on base percentage is 355 with Riley Green.
It's
It's like
ugly, and it got ugly quick.
it did, and it is just like, and that's where it makes these little like, I don't know how else to call them other than like bipolar moments where
Mm.
the offense just like surges, where we're gonna have like all of a sudden an 11-2 victory over the White Sox like on a random day,
It is the
but
White Sox.
we lost
Being
the day
fair.
before.
No, I
Who lost
know.
the day before? Like
To
I
the
don't.
Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, like probably the. Is there another team like really that bad right now?
Uh, the
No,
Rockies are pretty terrible.
Rockies are pretty terrible, but like the I don't know.
Oh, they're
I
5
don't.
games back from even the Rockies or the Marlins. That's ugly.
Yeah, and it's like you 11-2 against the White Sox, losing 1-8 to the Phillies, then beating the Phillies 4-1, then losing 2-6, then going out to LA tonight for a 3-game series. No, sorry, 4-game series with the Angels.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm in such a bad tailspin with this team because not only can I not watch them like just a normal human being,
Yeah,
but it like I wouldn't. I It's just sad.
it is.
I don't know
It
how
is a
else to
little
put it.
bit sad.
It was a team that I was excited about, especially like, oh, I thought we'd get the offense back, and at this point, Spencer Torkelson's not even on the team.
It feels almost ironic that the year that we get the Lions maybe having their best season of all time, and maybe that's not even a maybe, maybe it's not arguable that it was the Lions' best season of all time. You sort of had to go sacrificial lamb with every other team wearing that D on their chest. It's a little bit uglier than we expected it to be, and a little bit quicker. For the record, the Tigers right now 15 games back from the lead at the Central, though to be fair, the Guardians are continuing to absolutely tear it up. They are 6 games back from the Royals, who are in third right now and close up there with the Twins in the Central. It's not a great look. Another team trying to do that same sort of thing of just pray is the Pistons, who I know you had a big question that you asked at the beginning of the podcast, and I'd love you to ask it one more time because I think it's the funniest damn thing.
Who in the hell is Ron Holland?
What a great question.
I think of
Ron
Ken Holland and I get
II.
mad. I think of the Ken Holland, the former GM of the Wings. That's what I think of, and then I just get angry.
For that, I'm very sorry. That's a funny connection there. It's a little bit of a risk, and I'm not going to sit here and play devil's advocate and you take a massive swing on a guy and he could really turn out and doesn't really matter because you sort of got killed in the draft lottery anyways. You could say all those things, but I would have liked to have seen us take a swing at a Matas Buzailis, who I just butchered his name. I've said it a million times at this point, Buzailis. And then Dalton Connect. Both guys sort of mocked to be around us, and both guys fell all the way down to 11 for Matas and down to 17 for the Lakers. That's tough, man, to watch guys that you thought you could grab at number 5. Maybe that means in my head more that it's okay that we didn't take them, if you know what I mean. Ron Holland was sort of on my big board, so to speak, of guys that the Pistons were looking at. He's 6'8", 204, G League Ignite guy, already relatively physically built for an 18-year-old, as far as, of course, 18-year-olds go. He's a great slasher, gets downhill very well, aggressive, physical, but he lacks the one thing the Pistons need, the ability to shoot the basketball.
Hold on here. I go to Google, just search in Google Ron Holland. My Siri knowledge, which I didn't know was a thing until now, says Ronald John Holland is a yacht designer who came to prominence in the 1970s with his successful racing design and is now best known for his super yachts.
That tells you about this kid, that he's not a known commodity, and that almost makes him, he was born in July. I think I said earlier that he was born in August, so he'll turn 19 here in not too long. But yeah, that's part of it. He comes from the G League Ignite, and guess who was his teammate? Was Matas Buzailis, who is better than him, and a better shooter than him, and he fell all the way to 11. So I'm not mad at the swing because I was actually talking to Bryce Simon, who we've had on the show a couple times this morning, who said that the Pistons have hired a new assistant coach and done some other things that I guess gives them this sort of shot doctor on the squad that maybe can fix Ron Holland's mechanics, because he absolutely has the potential in the schematics to be the best player in this draft. Is that a low bar because this draft is absolutely terrible? Of course it's a low bar. But this kid has that type of potential. I'm just worried about the Cade timeline, because what did we spend? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? What did we spend?
Yeah, we talked a long time about
Talked
Cade.
a lot about the idea that the Pistons are at a crossroads in the next year or so. Are you able to just get Cade to sign back with you? Or do you have to show that you're taking steps in the right direction for him to make that investment? Because you could potentially have him leave because, once again, you have been unable or maybe unwilling to put any shooting around Cade Cunningham at all. Somehow he's still putting up incredible numbers, and he looks really good despite the turnovers on this Pistons squad that has one of the most clogged offenses in the league, one of the least shooting offenses available. You got rid as well of Alec Burks. You got rid of Bojan Bogdanovic, who then the Knicks got rid of earlier this week. There's no shooting left on this roster, not very much of it. Fontecchio, Grimes, that sort of ends the list. I would have loved to have seen a better shooter, but maybe that's something you focus on more in free agency. I do want to throw out, I said his stats were really good. Any Cade haters out there? Number one picks in NBA history to average at least 26 assists, 5 boards through their first 3 seasons. It's Oscar Robertson, it's LeBron James, and it's Cade Cunningham. That's the end of the list. And we're in danger of losing this guy. That's more what I'm worried about. I'm not
So
actually that mad at the Ron Holland pick. It's more just what it means in the context of the team.
and with that being said, I'm assuming you're staying with the idea of keep this guy and build shooting around him, or are you saying like get the max value from him in a trade
If
and
we can keep him, keep him. You can a team like the Pistons, I don't think can afford to bail on the little talent that you have. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's
and I
there's very few guys in the league, very few teams that just fall into talent like that. I don't think you can afford to just run away from it.
yeah, and I think that's in a way where I'm looking at with not to bring it all the way back to the
No,
wings,
no,
but
go for it.
I that's where I'm struggling is like, are we what piece of the puzzle are you trying to fix? Because obviously you're looking to either make an extension, sign a free agent, or make another trade. The Wallman trade was not a was the start of something clearly. That
Hmm.
is one thing I think any Wings fan or any NHL fan for sure can say. That trade was a that was the starting like the base for something else.
You hope it
And
is.
something else has to be coming with
I'm
the
just
amount of cap
saying.
space.
I'm just saying.
Like,
There's a
yes,
chance.
but I'll put it this way: if nothing happens and Steve Eiserman still has a job in the next year after doing that,
All right,
I'm just gonna be
let's.
so confused. Like,
You're willing to
I'm
go.
saying it's that I'm saying it is that big of a like.
Okay.
There is no reason that he would just completely cap dump this guy if he wasn't looking for something else.
All right. I'm
I
not
do
saying
think
you're
he
wrong.
has.
I'm just saying that's a quick
It's a big.
turnaround on Iserman.
It's a big. It's a. It. But it would be that level of a lack of common sense.
Okay. We'll see.
Is what I'll go with that. But yeah, again, kind of a stagnant with the dog days coming up in Detroit sports. There's not a ton to talk about outside of the draft. Obviously, prepping for these upcoming seasons in the fall. And I completely lost my train of thought. I don't know if you had something in between, but I do want to talk about Colin Morikawa just completely like letting me down this past week. Unless you had something else.
No, you don't get to argue about this because my pick was Oberg to go top 10, and he killed my. I mean, I wasn't even. We were talking about this earlier. I didn't even get the chance to be sad about it because by the time Sunday hit, he wasn't even he wasn't even there. Yeah, I actually had money on Colin as well, so that sort of uh, hit me in the balls, so to speak, because yeah, it he was so close, and he was playing
Yeah,
great ball,
he
and then
was
he
playing,
wasn't.
dude. Saturday he was. It was either Friday or Saturday. He was just on fire. He was killing
Mhm.
it. He was like in the top like 2 or 3. Then and it was. I will say it wasn't all like necessarily him. It was there was a lot of golfers that were just making that many more birdies and just shaving off that many more strokes. But that was just disappointing to see. And then Homa, who was my other top 10 finish, never really had a chance. Fleetwood was flirting with the line a little bit. He was up there. I think he finished like tied for 14. So bit of a losing side there. And then I'm trying to think what my other pick was because I know it won. I just can't remember what it was.
Actually, I got one more thing here.
Oh,
Just
go for it.
before we finish up our half dozen, we told you that we were recording this on Thursday night. The NBA draft is officially over. First time they've done it in 2 nights. I don't really know how I feel about that. I think that's just them stretching. But we
It's
picked
normally
up
all one, isn't it?
because it's only 2 rounds. The
Yeah.
Pistons in their late second round pick. Those were the only picks they had. Was fifth pick in the first round and fifth from the last in the second round, such as the snake draft. Grabbed UConn guard Cam Spencer, who March Madness fans will remember just was absolutely on fire under Dan Hurley. awesome baller. He's got a pretty simple draft profile in that he is an absolute flamethrower, great scorer, great shooter. I think he's a good pickup. Got solid vision actually as well for a shooting guard. Decent rebounder as well. The one thing I'll say is he's got just as well as his strengths are obvious, so are his weaknesses. He's 24 years old, which is fucking ancient for the draft. And I think we'll see more of that. More 22, 23, 24-year-olds come out with the transfer portal and people being willing to stay more years. But he's 24, and he just doesn't have the measurables, so to speak. He's not incredibly fast. He's not very tall or long, so defense could be an issue. Even though he was actually a decent defender in college, I think the physicality of it with his lack of height might cause him some issues, but I think it's a pretty solid overall pick for you. He's not a veteran by any means, but he gives you a little bit more age and experience in a rookie that might be able to come off the bench for you this year and hit some threes and maybe space the floor. That floor spacing we're talking about, all important.
Yeah. And I will say that this was my other question about the draft. It seems like it's less and less NCAA players each year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the direction you see, front office is going?
It's tough. Yes, in short. I think it's being overblown a little bit just because they're top picks and they're big names that are going that are from France or from France, in this case, playing in Australia, things like that. But the G League Ignite is going to end after this year. I believe that I guess they weren't sort of happy with the way that worked out, even though it's created all of these prospects. I think that we might get fewer of the young kids, the one and dones in basketball with NIL and the transfer portal. I think we're going to get a lot of our young, unproven, again, air quotes, prospects coming out of Europe and coming out of overseas leagues. But I still think we'll get a lot of these type of kids, the Dalton Connects, the Baylor Shiremans, the Cam Spencers, who played, or Terrence Shannon played 3-4 years, 4 in Shannon's case, in college, can come off the bench, go late in the first round, and I'm terrible at snapping today. Be an instant impact. See, Daimel's got me on lock. Be an instant impact scorer because I hate this phrase, but NBA ready. You'll be NBA ready because you've played. Cam Spencer, I think, has played 5 years of college ball. Dalton Connect has played 5 years of college ball. These are guys that are still getting drafted out of the NCAA, but they're just in different roles now. I think you'll still have them, but I think you'll get less of the Zions who come in and are just athletic freaks and then leave after a year.
Yeah, that's fair. It was an interesting, turn, and I guess you also have that in the NHL too, where a lot of guys are coming from these junior league, minor league hockey teams, or they're coming from Sweden or somewhere in Europe, and then you have your NCAA guys, but it's definitely like a solid mixture there. You don't really see that at all in the NFL. Everybody's kind of straight from college, obviously, and then the MLB, it's mostly high school and college with the occasional, obviously they have their international free agents, which are signed completely separately, but you still have that aspect of, they're coming from all different crops here, which is always interesting.
Expansion of the game. It's becoming more and more worldwide, which is super cool that as much as people complain about this or that, or what's his name? Noah Lyles, the track sprinter that was world champion of what?
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Did we talk about Monty?
Monty's fucking out of here.
We didn't.
I don't know if
we haven't talked about him.
That's funny.
We didn't talk about Monty.
That's so good. Monty Williams is no longer the Pistons head coach, and you can tell exactly who has followed the Pistons and who has not based on their reaction to it. Because all of the big names, all of the Stephen A's and the Greenies and the talking heads.
Can we get your can you throw in like in the editing your reaction that clip you sent me?
That was good.
We need that in.
I was the morning actually that I left for that wedding I was talking about. I was live on the air when they reported that Monty had left, and I just their reaction is very funny. So I'll have to post that. But you can tell exactly who in the national media hasn't watched the Pistons because they only know the name Monty Williams, and they go, "He's won Coach of the Year. He did this with the Suns. They threw all this money at him. Why'd they then run away from him? What are you doing? You're idiots. Ah, so stupid." And then you get all the people that watch the Pistons were like, yeah, he slept walked through this season in Breaking Bad style, slept on top of his money. I don't know what the Pistons expected because we chucked money at him and he said no. And then we chucked more money at him and then he said no. And then we chucked an ungodly amount of money at him and he said fine. Why did we think that he was going to be all
Twist
hoorah?
my arm.
Twist my okay, I guess so. I guess you could pay me $10 million a year. I don't know why we expected him to be passionate and enthralled about rebuilding a team that he clearly didn't want to come to, and said as much when he declined multiple offers from us. I'm not gonna say that I'm preying on his downfall or happy that a guy lost his job,
But
but he's still getting paid all kinds of money. We still have to pay him all of that,
Bobby
and
Bonilla.
it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be Josh Smith style, paying him $5 million a year for however long. And I don't want to, again, I don't want to cheer for a guy losing his job, but it just doesn't make sense for him to coach the Pistons. He didn't care. And does that leave Detroit, as we just saw, going through a draft with no head coach? Yes, but I think it was a step you had to take.
If you obviously can't have JJ, if you're gonna pick somebody right now, like you get off
Yeah.
the pod, you get done recording and you see the Pistons have hired blank. If you could fill that blank, who are you taking?
Good question. I love Micah Nori, the Timberwolves assistant. He's the one that took over when their head coach got towards patella tendon
Okay.
for Minnesota and had the coach, but coach with quotation marks, be head coach sort of inacting for a couple of weeks there. I'd love him. The name I've heard thrown around the most is James Borrego, who's a Pelicans assistant. And of course, him and Trajan Langdon, Pistons' new president of basketball ops, worked together in New Orleans. I think that lends something to that name being in the mix. That's the name I've heard the most. Bryce Simon mentioned that name as our sort of NBA insider info, the name he's heard thrown around the most. If I had to make a prediction, I'd say Borrego. I think he'll be a good coach. But if I had my perfect pick, I'd probably say Micah Nori.
I mean, obviously, he's an assistant at a team that's, gone from here to here in a matter of a couple seasons.
Yeah.
And that, often seems to work. I was surprised to see, and I guess this isn't Pistons news, but I was surprised to see that Jared Grasso, the former Bryant coach, was on the list for the Lakers after everything that happened to him. I'm not going to get into all of that because that's one, Googleable, and two, I would feel like I'd be taking up like the next 20 minutes of recording.
All right.
But no, I think if you can snag an assistant or something like that, someone from a proven winning organization, and not an organization that isn't surrounded by like huge names. Like Monty
Yeah.
did Monty have KD? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Kevin Durant.
Did he? Yeah,
Oh shoot. I think he had him for half a season after the trade
he's still
deadline.
like he had Booker, he had Aiton, he had like that much talent. Like obviously, it's not like
Jay
the
Crowder.
Timberwolves don't have. It's not like Timberwolves don't have talent, but they've like proven in growth. So I think if you
Yep.
can
They
find guys that have
built that team.
yes, if you can find guys that clearly went through that building process, I see no reason why not to chuck some money at them, just not an ungodly amount like with Monty.
Speaking
Um,
of chucking money, where is your money chucking going this weekend? We've got picks of
that's
the
a
weeks to get
hell of a
to, and
transition. That's a
I
hell
know.
of a transition. Um, my money, it's pretty simple this week. I
Hmm.
lost. I thought I won because I realized we recorded a while ago. But the Dodgers, and I remember now because they were getting killed by the Rockies, like
Yeah.
just obliterated. Came all the way back and then lost. Made it a 1-run game and then blew it. So I lost 2 units on that one. Going with another classic money line. Tomorrow, Yankees money line against the Blue Jays. Marcus Stroman has I wanted to say it to sound smart, but I don't remember. 1.65 ERA and 9
Ooh.
strikeouts in 3 appearances against his former team, the Blue Jays. He's been playing pretty well this season, and the Blue Jays are also kicking the shit out of the Yankees as we speak. I don't see the Yankees losing this much consistently. I think they've got to bring it back out at some point. So that's where my money's going tomorrow. What about you?
See, my pick from last week was Ludwig Oberg to go top 5 at the Travelers. Didn't work out so great. Not only was he not in the top 5, I don't think he was in the top 15. Sort of an ugly finish, but he played okay, I guess. Maybe that is just my expectations for him. I'm going this week over to closer to where I live right now, which is Kansas City in the Royals. They're hosting the Guardians this week, which should prove to be a very fun series if you're looking for. I mean, that's one of the best bullpens in baseball in Cleveland that's coming down to the K. And one of the more fun team. I mean, it's a sort of a power of friendship team in the Royals. They're not exactly. It's Bobby and the boys, and that's sort of
Yep.
it. But the
Better
one
than
thing
what
they
we
do
got.
have is, yeah, true. It is great pitching, and I want to make a money line pick here, but I'm a little hesitant because Alec Marsh pitches Friday night versus Cleveland for Kansas City versus Cleveland. Cole Reagans is on the bump Saturday night. I almost want to pick both of those, but I know I should do one. I'm going to take Cole Reagans Saturday afternoon game, 3:10 Central for the first pitch. Cleveland got the better of them the last time these two teams played, but Kansas City's been slipping a little bit as of late after what was a phenomenal first 60 games or so. Last 10, not so much. I think this is where they turn it around with what is a huge series for standings in the Central. Saturday afternoon, I've got Cole Reagans helping KC get a win. If you get plus 1.5, my official pick is money line, but if the line will give you a run, definitely take that.
Yeah, it looks like Cole Reagans has allowed 4 runs on 6 hits with 1 walk and 3 strikeouts in 5 innings. He was charged a loss, but that was 2 years ago. And I think that was with the
Been a while.
Rangers. Yeah, been a
He's
while. And
playing good ball this year, I think.
he's been playing pretty well.
No, I
So
think I know.
it'll be good.
That's the
No
problem is
golf pick this week after last week. I'm
oh, yeah,
taking some
some
time
time
off.
off. Fair. My gut almost wants to take Seth Lugo, who pitches the afternoon. You know what? We're going to go double trouble. We're going to go double for
Double
nothing.
trouble.
Almost hedging myself. I'm hedging, not edging myself. Cole Reagans, we're going to go Saturday afternoon. KC gets a win. Then we're going to go Sunday afternoon. Kansas City gets another win on that getaway game, 110 first pitch. Seth Lugo's been awesome. I know I probably shouldn't put 2 bets on the same team for the same thing. I know that's really stupid, but I need to win, so we're just going to go with it.
You know what? I'm not trying to copy you, but I'm going to copy you, and I'm going to throw another pick out there.
Let's do it.
So I've got the Yankees. That's tomorrow. That's Friday. It's
Mhm.
a tomorrow game. I believe Aaron Nola of the Phillies is scheduled to pitch Saturday. And I am. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong?
I don't know.
I am right. Whatever that line is, they're playing the Marlins minus 1.5. I'm going to throw a unit on that one as well. So I've got Yankees money line on Friday, Phillies minus 1.5 Saturday.
Hell yeah. You got the
So
picks here first. We have one last segment. It's on this day in Michigan sports history. The trouble is it's getting to the dog days of summer, and there's not a lot that happens around this time of year. For when this comes out, it will be tomorrow. 3 years ago, the Pistons took Cade Cunningham, number 1 overall, slid on the Buffs, started the tradition, brought what the Pistons fans thought would be a renaissance. Instead, has played only 2 seasons of basketball in his 3 years with the team. injured in what was his sophomore campaign, and has ultimately watched the team around him crumble and die and continue to be terrible. But hey, who knows? 3 years from now, we could be singing a different tune. So 3 years ago, that's the best we got for on this day in Michigan sports history.
I mean, like I said, we kind of cursed ourselves with that Michigan story. I don't
We'll
know that
never
we'll
get a
find
better one.
anything good, but stay tuned. Next week, I know we're talking about doing some more debate topics as we enter what
Fun
we've
one.
referred to as like 50 times now, the dog days
It's true. It
of the
is.
summer. It is true. It is kind of boring, so we'll get some debates going. Go full on first take style, except we'll actually make cognizant and like
A lot less screaming at each
real.
other, I hope.
A lot less screaming and a little more competent.
Touch more
Hopefully,
logic.
touch more,
Who knows?
just a little.
Touch more. Well, thank you so much for joining us for these last 45 minutes or so. We'll be back again next week and the week after, and you won't be able to get rid of us. Follow us on
Nope.
Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff. Until next week, it's been Pure Michigan Sports.